What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Live Before Lock here. Normally this might be a showdown or anything else. We got 3 games before us here on Christmas Day. First of all, Merry Christmas. And secondly, smash that like button here. We are working for the weekend into a Monday here. And I'm excited because, well, I've done this show now a couple of years now, and, well, yesterday was Christmas Eve. Got to hang out with him as well. My friend, Matt_Gajeski over on Twitter. Matt Gajeski, how you doing, my dude? How was yesterday for you?
Yesterday was good. Had a really fun day watching sports. Excited to run it back today. Little 3-game NFL action. Not normal, but here for it. Some pretty good games, too, so I'm excited to get into it. How are you doing, man?
Doing great. Merry Christmas. Obviously, could have been an even better Christmas had our guy, Mr. Weeks, not gotten knocked out of that game a little bit early because, oh boy, I was absolutely rocking and rolling in some spots. Ended up doing pretty well in a couple of like smaller field tournaments, the $33, the $50 single entry. Had a pretty good day overall, but God, it could have been epic. If that DJ Montgomery fellow who I learned about yesterday could have done something as well, that would have been enjoyable. But overall, I felt pretty good about the analysis, felt pretty good about the slate. And, well, we get to hang out for Mike Lawrence for round 2 here. 3-gamer before us. And right off the bat, we've got a game in 53 minutes starting up here, Kansas City and Vegas, with a massive piece of news. Josh Jacobs not going to suit up. What are we going to do with Zamir White today? Because feels like we might want to play him.
Yeah, I think we do want to play him. And really the only piece of nuance here is the opportunity cost, because running back is pretty strong for it being a 3 running back slate. So really the only qualms I have with using him, it just means you can't play a lineup that has some combination of Pacheco, McCaffrey, Swift, and Barkley if you're into him today. So I think you just need to navigate the news carefully. Obviously, he's going to slide into lineups pretty easily because of the value he presents. And we know that Vegas is going to run the ball. We know that their coaching staff has been extremely vocal about it, whether they're winning or losing. So I'm not really concerned about volume. It's mainly just opportunity cost for me. Still going to be playing a healthy amount, but generally speaking, I find myself trying to get to the other 3 elite backs over him.
Yeah, and seeing as this is a live before lock, we're still going to go position by position. We can kind of talk about some of the nuances of each game. It is 3 games, very similar to what you're running into for a Thanksgiving slate, but we're getting it on Christmas too. Twice is nice for this season for sure. These 3 gamers, so epic, so fun, and obviously with NBA going on simultaneously, some people might not be managing everything the best, but we've got the Sims tool, we've got the lineup generator. We're going to utilize those here on the show today to help us make some holiday cash. But we're going to start right off the bat here at the quarterback position because there's a lot of options actually for it just being a 3-game slate. Couple of studs, couple of like cheapies that we can kind of rotate around into lineups. But I guess I want to ask you this right from the get-go because, I mean, it's hard for me to get away from 13.5-point favorite and his running ability. I mean, is this just going to be one of those spots where we want to be overweight to the likes of 2 really awesome offenses? We have Brock Purdy here and the San Francisco Giants against Baltimore. That's going to be an exciting one. But I just keep looking at Jalen Hurts and I keep landing on him. It's fun to put together singles and doubles. It's harder because these are the kind of slates where you could just have a full-on onslaught. But like, who is the quarterback that you're landing on the most for today's slate?
It's Hurts. He's going to be the player, at least at the quarterback position, that I'm most overweight to. You kind of hinted at a lot of the reasons why, massive favorites. He gets there in so many ways. Obviously, the tush-push stuff, the QB sneak stuff, that's going to give you a little bit of an edge. Even if this game isn't the most competitive, if they get down anywhere near the 1-yard line, it's basically inside the 5 at this point. They're QB sneaking Jalen Hurts into the end zone. So the rushing equity isn't affected as much by the blowout potential of the game. I mean, just really hard to get away from him in a spot like this. Whereas you have the other studs in tougher matchups. Mahomes, he just isn't playing up to his career averages, and he doesn't run. So that's a pretty easy tiebreaker. And Lamar Jackson at a price point that's similar, very tough matchup for him. So breaking ties, I think it's pretty easy to prefer Hurts in the situation. He's also incredibly easy to stack. You compare him to like Purdy or something, more condensed target shares in Philly. He's my favorite quarterback. It's not particularly close.
I'm with you. It's really hard. And again, the Sims tool, I keep updating it. I keep running stuff here for the after effect with Zamir White. And now with Zamir White's existence and having him, yeah, they're massive dogs there in that spot. And he's not pulling crazy ownership, but he's 5K. He has a sub what? Well, he's under 40% here right now, but a 5K running back opens up the entire board for me. And if you're paying up at quarterback to Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, or Hurts, it's hard for me not to prefer Hurts just with a 28 implied team total with the rushing equity. And then obviously Alpha and AJ Brown there, Dallas Goedert, and Mr. Devonta Smith. Not exactly the worst to bring along for the ride, but let's kind of work through this a little bit more because, again, Brock Purdy's up to 6,700 now. He gets to face a really tough defense in the Baltimore Ravens, but at home, he's got all of the skill position players and all the land himself. And I just feel like he's going a little bit underappreciated on this slate, considering what? We've got Lamar Jackson, 7,400, pulling 22% ownership. Patrick Mahomes right around 20 as well. I mean, Brock Purdy, the MVP of the league, he's the guy I'm getting to the second most in terms of quarterback portfolio, stacking him up a bunch in doubles over and over again ad nauseum. But who's the quarterback you're getting to the second most?
It's Purdy for me as well, but it's much closer. It's a pretty wide gap for me between Hurts down to Purdy, and then it's pretty narrow between Purdy to Lamar and Mahomes, who are third and fourth for me. But I mean, there's so many positives to Purdy's game that I think people just don't realize, or maybe they don't want to accept because there is some sticker shock with Purdy. You know, like it's tougher to click him at 6,700 when you could have played him at like 55 earlier in the year, and I get that. But he's earned it. I mean, you look at EPA differences. The same gap between him and Dak at 1 and 2 is the exact same gap between Dak and QB 15. Like he is far and away the most efficient signal caller in the NFL this year. It's not close, and there's not enough games for anyone to chase him down. His price point is better, so you can stack him. The one thing that's tricky is it's not as condensed as like Philly. So who do you use in stacks? I personally am happy to mix and match Debo, Aiyuk, and Kittle, but it's a little bit less clear, and the game environment's a little tougher. Maybe it gets back and forth and is more competitive than Philly, but you just look at like team total, scoring expectation, it's much lower in Frisco today. And you also have the Christian McCaffrey vulture problem for him. A lot of times they can work in tandem because they throw so much to McCaffrey, but it's not like Hurts where they get down to the 1 yard line, he's getting the score. Frisco gets down to the 1 yard line, it's probably McCaffrey. So there are a couple things I think you can break ties with, but I still think Purdy is a very good play. He's going to be my second favorite quarterback on this slate.
Yeah, it's so fun to go over to OwnersBox today, too, the sponsor of our program, and be able to play two of these guys, because there's obviously these super flexes. When you're able to play 2 of the 6 on the board here, and 2 of them look like Tommy DeVito and Aiden O'Connell do on this slate, it looks cool in your lineup. So I got to say, OwnersBox, special shout out to them as I'm building stuff over there with Hurts, Jackson, Mahomes, Purdy. You have those 4. It's a lot of fun, but we've kind of gone through the big boppers here for the most part. I guess I do want to get your take on Mahomes to a certain extent, because Rashee Rice, I've been kind of early to the party. It's been nice to be early to the party. Now everybody's joined me for the party here. That is Rashee Rice, 90+% snap share, running around on 90+% of routes here last week. Nice to see him finally ramped up to the position where he belongs, because he's really the only wide receiver who has had any sustainable rapport with Patrick Mahomes this season. But feel like he's just kind of getting lost considering the rushing equity of Hurts and Jackson. And then Purdy's just, what, $800 cheaper with, I believe, wild to say, but better skill position players. What are you doing with Patrick Mahomes? Because it feels weird for me to be having like 5% of him on a slate that's a 3-gamer.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's not get this confused, chat. Like, I think Mahomes is awesome. Me saying he's having, like a close to a career worst year, still awesome. Like, he's way better than just about every quarterback aside from Purdy and a handful of others. He's playing amazing and he's not throwing to anybody. So maybe if you gave him better weapons, you added Tyreek Hill back, he would still be at his career average levels. He's just not there right now. Even if he is leading the NFL in passing, You can look at raw attempts. There is some nuance to just deciding who the best quarterback is. But again, splitting the hairs, Mahomes doesn't run. Lamar and Hurts both do. Team total is way better for Philly in this game. And then who do you stack Mahomes with? Even with some of the injuries they've had, no Sky Moore, no Kadarius, you still run into stacking problems. Your best stacking option, Kelsey, is completely washed. Maybe he is revitalized for one game here in the holiday. I don't know, but he is by far having a career worst year, unless you want to go back like all the way to when he was a rookie. Rashee Rice
played
is
a game though. He played like one game that season with Alex Smith, Denver.
Whatever you want
17.
to do year two. I don't care. You can look at year two. What the point I'm trying to make is he's having an awful year, and he's still priced like he's Travis Kelsey of 2020. And I think the only clear answer if you're using Mahomes and stacking him is Rashee Rice. Outside of that, I don't know how you feel good about anybody. They're just still rotating everyone not named Rashee Rice and Kelsey at this point. These are tiebreakers. Still playing a little bit of Mahomes because you can access him in cheap ways, but it's dicey and volatile. So he's quarterback 4, in my opinion, on this slate. Still happy to use him, but it's going to be a smaller share of my portfolio.
Yeah. So for Christmas morning here, my nieces and nephews are over, and I got a bunch of cool Taylor Swift stuff because they're both obsessed with Taylor Swift, and they gave me like one of these little friendship bracelets, and I was like, "Oh, fearless!" And she's like, "Oh, you're about to go talk about the team," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be rostering Patrick Mahomes, and I hope Travis Kelsey does nothing today." So that's fun. So you win some, you lose some. It was good Christmas gifts by me, and I'm along for the ride here with the nieces, and yay Taylor Swift, but. God, I hope Travis Kelsey does nothing today. That is for sure. Cool talk. Glad we had it. Anywho, I got to ask you about it because they exist. Tommy DeVito, Aiden O'Connell, if you have to punt with a quarterback because you want to get different, who do you choose?
I would choose DeVito because he runs.
Yeah. Well, and he's facing the Eagles. That helps.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess. He sucks so much, I don't think it matters.
We're back. I love that we're back on that. It's true. He's not good, but he runs from time to time, and then he charges double now for appearance fees at Italian restaurants. So that's cool too.
Good. I hope he gets his bag because he's not going to get it next year, any year after. Milk any single dollar you can get out of this stupid Italian bit because you're not actually good at the game.
What is on the screen right now? What did Mike Lawrence put up there? What is this?
It's just Taylor
Mike, what
Swift
is that?
and Andy
Oh, is that
Reid.
Taylor Swift kissing Andy Reid? Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah, we're bitter here in Philly.
I have no idea. Mike, I can't hear you. Anyway, let's go continue on, my friends. I don't have anything else to add from the quarterback position. I think our time is better used other places. But if we have to rank our top 3 quarterbacks, for me, I'm going Hurts 1. I'm going Brock Purdy 2. I'm going Lamar Jackson 3. I feel as though you are on board with me.
Yeah. And I mean, we have to, like, you can only play one quarterback, people in the chat. I love Lamar. I like Mahomes too, but Mahomes is essentially the same price as Lamar and Hurts. You have to choose. You can't play 2. I would rather play Hurts or Lamar. No slight to Mahomes. Honestly, what I think he's doing is extremely impressive. And yeah, I know Kelsey's not washed. This is a little bit of hyperbole. Still very good. He's just expensive. And when he's your number 1 and you have to rely on Justin Watson and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it's not a great situation. You guys understand this.
Why does he hate him so much? Why do you hate him so much? What's wrong with
DeVito?
you, Matt? No, I was kidding. Not DeVito. I was talking Mahomes. I think that's.
I like Mahomes. Mahomes. I think Mahomes I think they were talking about DeVito.
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, but DeVito sucks. It just is what it is. But there's fantasy implications, so I get it. Like I'm aware of it.
Yeah, he's awful. He's the worst quarterback in the NFL. I'm standing on that. I don't care if he had a good game against Washington.
Oh, I love this. By the way, lineup generator. This is a fantastic ad that you can get right now using promo code HOLIDAY. Celebrate. Yeah, promo code HOLIDAY, friends. Get yourself 25% off any Sims package or the lineup generator, which we're going to break down here as we jump to the running back position. Mike Lawrence sitting down there behind the turnstiles. They're doing a great job here producing our lovely little show. 25% off, though, promo code HOLIDAY. That's really cool stuff here. And yeah, you could the Sims package, phenomenal stuff as well. I'm building out the rest of my lineups as we are going along here. And yeah, when we get to running back, there are 2 guys that are just showing up nonstop in the lineup generator in the Sims. And I'm curious because one of them I'm very, very on board with. The other one I'm having a tough time in my mind because, the DeAndre Swift thing is driving me berserk with Jalen Hurts' goal line role here. But Isaiah Pacheco, 6,400. He is back. You have no Jerick McKinnon there. So I think passing game volume, it's him and CEH. I think Pacheco is default the guy that you want to get to in that regard. CEH had a great catch in the end zone last week, so I don't want to completely besmirch him there, but it's been, a couple of years there that CEH has had the chance. And Pacheco, he runs as though he's got, he's got friends waiting for him at home to go play video games. Like he has got the backpack on and he is just trucking home to play Fortnite. The guy is incredible. Feel good about Pacheco. Don't feel as good about DeAndre Swift. Amongst those two chalky running backs showing up in the mid-range, do you have a preference between the two?
I prefer Pacheco for a lot of the reasons you alluded to. You just don't have to worry about the QB sneak stuff. And you honestly don't have to worry about Kenny Gainwell, who plays a lot. I don't know if it's justifiable, but for whatever reason, the coaching staff continues to use him. You'll even see Boston Scott on occasion for the Eagles. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say people suck in the chat anymore. Every time I do, they get mad. But so, chat, what do we think? How would you describe Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Everyone in chat can give me their best Clyde Edwards-Helaire adjective. I would love to see what you guys
think. Just trying to get some Christmas spirit going. He sucks. He's not good. He had one good catch last week.
People in the chat think that Tommy DeVito's good. So I don't know, man. Maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire is good.
I don't think he is, if we're going to be honest.
Well, I don't know.
I love that people are taking it personal, but here's the thing. Like, there are going to be some weirdos that we want to roster in large field tournaments. In small field, I think it's very clear cut. And if you're playing cash today, first of all, bless your heart. You must really be a Scrooge. But Pacheco, McCaffrey, Swift, have no problem with any of them. But it's hard to get away from Zamir White at 5K. This is just somebody that I know that they are 11-point dogs here, but his workload is pretty awesome. And the 5K goes a long way for me on today's slate. And when you start looking at CEH there at 5,500 or Gus Edwards 5,700 or some of these other running backs that I can get different with, I mean, I think a 5K Zamir White kind of ruins a lot of their value or me wanting to try to get different there. I find myself going to wide receiver and tight end to differentiate a lot of my lineups, getting different with Giants wide receivers. There's some chalky ones that I think are pretty interchangeable there. As we're working through Kansas City, you can definitely take shots on Justin Watson or, God forbid, that MVS fellow who has followed me and just ruined my life for the last year and a half. Although this year, I've maybe talked about him one time until now, so there is that. But just want to ask you about Zamir White before, of course, we talk about Christian McCaffrey and the opportunity cost. What's your interest level in Zamir White today?
Yeah, love Zamir White. We'll be playing a lot of him. It mainly comes down to roll at his price. And Vegas is not afraid to ride the run even when they're losing games, which I think is really important because this team is projected to get clobbered on this slate. But Zamir White is still the early down back. Really, the only hole you can poke in him is that Amir Abdullah will play on pass downs. But anytime they get even remotely close to the end zone, it's Zamir White. For whatever reason, they prioritize getting their running backs 100 yards. That's Zamir White. So
it's important.
I mean, and plus, important. The other thing is at his price, he can relatively fail or not have the best game, and it doesn't really hurt you. So, I mean, it's hard not to play him. Again, the only thing I think you're really working with is opportunity cost, because you can get 3 running backs that you feel better about, I think, over Zamir White. So I'm going to be playing him as my 4th most owned running back in the portfolio, sort of wrestling around with how I want to treat DeAndre Swift and Zamir White. But my top 2 will definitely be McCaffrey, Pacheco. From there, still working it out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm only playing 20 lineups today here. Going to go spend some time with the fam for sure. But as I'm building this out, I'm building it out for the largest field tournaments. And Zamir White, whatever. I'm happy to just eat the chalk there at 5K and just try to get different at wide receiver tight end. I think that it's really as clear as that. You get one of these 3 gamers as well, where I think defense, more than happy to play anybody against my defense and have as many skill position players here. On this one specifically, we have 2 massive favorites that exist on the slate. And then, well, San Francisco, Baltimore should be a fun frickin' football game. That is for sure. But I don't really find a need to try to punt anybody else down there. But let's get to it. Christian McCaffrey's 9,500. This is a slate now because of Zamir White, his existence in my lineups, that I can get to a little bit more McCaffrey, but I'm still just about at the field here. I was well below it here before that news ended up breaking. I was anticipating playing a lot of Josh Jacobs or a lot of Zamir White here in any capacity. And well, it broke the way of the cheap guy. And now I have a lot more salary to get up there. And yet, yeah, I'm still sitting at 40% here. I do find Rashee Rice and Brandon Aiyuk and some of the not crazy expensive. AJ Brown's really the only expensive wide receiver we have here, but I find them so easy to get to and land on. And considering I'm way overweight here to one Brock Purdy, to one Jalen Hurts, well, I want to get to Brown and Samuel, that's for sure. What are you planning to do here at running back with McCaffrey yourself?
Play a lot of him. I'll be over the field. So I'm going to end up being over 50%. I'm not sure how much, though. Definitely below 75, somewhere over 50. It's not just Zamir White. We have value everywhere. Michael Mayer's not playing, so we have a Stone Min tight end. We have 3 or 4 wide receivers that are full-time players. I don't think they're quite as secure as maybe like a Wicks yesterday or something like that. But if you wanted to punt at wide receiver, we've got Bateman, Beckham, Wandale, Hyatt, the cheap Chiefs guys you can gamble on if Mike Marquez, Valdez-Scantling, or somebody tickles your fancy. There's tons of value on this slate, so I just don't really find it particularly hard to get him in. And anytime we can just get the best player in fantasy, not really making any concessions, I'll just do that.
Yeah, I should probably renegotiate something. I wasn't planning on changing my lineups here on this show, but I keep looking at 40%, and I'm generally somebody who jams McCaffrey in these spots, but I think there's more leverage to be had when he fails in certain spots like this, especially if he ends up getting steamed up. But we've got him currently at 47%. The Sims tool had me right around 30% on him in my initial builds. And then, you know, obviously it's nuanced when you're talking just about 20 lineups. It's not like I have nearly as many 150 sets. So it can be very variant in that regard. But I built out a full 150 set, and it actually took me to around 28% of him. So I gave him a little bit of a boost here, and then was trying to just figure out what kind of configurations, how much salary I wanted to leave over on the table in some lineups. And well, when you're playing McCaffrey, you're using up a ton of that. You got to be very nuanced with how you want to go about it. But that's what the Sims tool really does here. And that's why you want to be utilizing promo code HOLIDAY, 25% off this puppy to try out now. We got a lot of football, Saturday, Sunday, Monday here next week. Next week, the last Monday night game, I believe, before everybody plays on that Sunday for the final week 18. But yeah, this is going to be a fun slate because I can kind of do stuff with the Sims tool that other people can't. But looking at the running back position, any cheapie, I know I said that I'm going to be going to Zamir White, and that's going to kind of be the stone cold floor for me. Do you have Gainwell interest? Justice Hill tickle your fancy? Anybody here sub 5K to round out running back?
I am running 150, and it's just a sprinkling of Gus Edwards and Justice Hill.
Okay.
Without Keaton Mitchell expecting mostly a two-way backfield, obviously Lamar's going to play a role in some of that. But you don't have the quarterback sneak stuff in Baltimore. When they get down to the end zone, it's Gus Edwards slamming in there, not the quarterback. It's a little bit less risk, but it's just a less efficient rushing attack in general. And otherwise, I don't really have a lot of interest in playing Boston Scott, Amir Abdullah, Kenny Gainwell, Matt Breida. There's so much value across the slate where I don't know if you need to gamble with some of those players. Mm-hmm. I think part of it, honestly, is just like you're betting on an injury, which happens at some point. So, I mean, there have been slates where backup running backs win these small gamers, but I personally don't know if I want to gamble on that.
Yeah, I don't really know who I would want to gamble with. I mean, I think Abdullah, maybe where it's already expected to be a massive negative game script. You're looking at, should it be Zamir White 34.3% next to Amir Abdullah 2.3%? Probably not. But I mean, it's so hard for me to click on Amir Abdullah knowing flat out that like his chances of finishing optimal compared to Zamir White's are about that as well. Like there's a reason that there is a chasm between their ownership here right now. And Kenneth Gainwell, I keep looking at, but I got to think, Boston Scott, for whatever reason, he does get work against the Giants, but do not be one of the people. Do not be one of the people out there with a Boston Scott giant killer ticket. Just don't do it. You're better than that. We don't have to go chase this, especially because of the tush push now. It is not a thing that needs to be factored in whatsoever. So I thought I would speak my piece about that. Last guy, I suppose, from the running back position whatsoever. I mean, if you're going to talk injury, you're going to talk massive blowout. I mean, is there something where I mean, is CEH even showing up in your lineups this week?
No, he projects for less points than Justice Hill and Kenneth Gainwell straight up, not even adjusting for salary.
It's the first game of the slate here. I'm happy to fade it and then just kind of pivot in. If I lose on Christmas Day because of CEH going for 15, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with it. I will live. I probably won't be okay with it if we're being honest, but it is what it is at that point.
Yeah.
Good talk. Let's talk OwnersBox, shall we, here before we jump over to the wide receiver position. In OwnersBox, we routinely talk about them here on the Live Before Locks. No, we covered them on Sunday for the main slate. How about we cover them here for Monday, where, again, superflex quarterbacks, to be able to play 4 of these 6 incredible quarterbacks on today's slate, it's a lot of fun. I like the way that my lineups look over there, and I think you will too. Right now, if you sign up in the link or at the link below or the one that Mike Lawrence is putting into chat here, you have an opportunity to make some money at a site that people haven't really solved yet, and we have solving tools for it with the Sims tool that has OwnersBox viability here. So you head over to the Sims tool. You can build out a 150 set immediately. You can build out a couple of lineups there for that $15 that they're running routinely. It is an awesome site. Super flex capability, plus a $500 first match deposit bonus. That's about, what, $400 higher than you're looking at just about every other site in the entire industry running out here on a daily basis. Check out OwnersBox here today. And again, the Sims tool having that opportunity for you to build out lineups immediately. There's 28 minutes to go here before we get to lock. You have an awesome chance to go make yourself a little bit of dough here at a site that a lot of sharps, they're probably not over there here on Christmas Day, or maybe it is mostly them, but either way, Overlay is your friend, and that's the name of the game. They routinely have it there over at OwnersBox, so check it out, my friends. Yeah, 36 states that it's available in, DC, all of Canada. Hey, happy Boxing Day to you too, or whatever they're saying. Nolan Kelly, I bet, is in chat. I bet he's there.
I'm Terrence.
Happy Christmas, Harry. I don't know. Anywho, we've got OwnersBox, friends. Sign up there at the link below here or in the one in chat. Really great site. Take advantage of that $500 first match deposit bonus. Awesome stuff. And thank you so much to them for their sponsorship, not just of this show, but of all of the shows we've had here all NFL season long. Let's go to wide receiver, friend. 27 minutes to go. Smash the like button. Yes, we are here working on Christmas Day. Nearly 2,000 of you hanging out. Can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And obviously, there's nowhere else that we would rather spend our time right now, right? Right, Makajeski?
I'm having a blast. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Talking NFL, man. Yeah, it's a great day.
You know what I don't want to talk? Chalk Wandale Robinson. So we're not going to do it yet. We're going to talk A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, Devontae Smith, 4 7K or above wide receivers. All of them look especially nice. All of them, well, none of them have lumps of coal in their stockings for Christmas because they have been awesome. I love myself some Deebo Samuel. I love myself some A.J. Brown. I am way overweight to both of them, and I think that might be the push and pull of what's going on with McCaffrey, is McCaffrey's pulling, 45% ownership. Less than half the ownership coming on every single wide receiver in the pool. That has me excited to go overweight to these guys. What are you planning to do with these 4 sitting above 7K?
I am going to come in close to the field on a lot of them and under on a couple. It's just tough for me to justify the projection difference between McCaffrey and these players. So I'm looking at AJ Brown projected around 19 points across the industry, and McCaffrey is up above 25 almost everywhere. So yeah, you have to pay the 1,000 extra, but I understand the leverage point. You're going to get a ton of it. So if that's the decision you make, it's just the decision you make. You have to get leverage somewhere. You can't play all the expensive guys, but it's tough for me to make that click myself. It's not to say I'm going to be zeros on these guys in my own portfolio, but it's going to be a push and pull, like you mentioned. So just kind of running top to bottom, stopping at 7K Devontae Smith. AJ Brown, I'll be a little underweight on. Honestly, I think the projection gap between Devontae and him is narrower than the pricing gap. So I'm coming in with a little more Devontae Smith. He'll be a guy I'm about double the field on, and AJ will be the opposite, coming in slightly under to him. Going to be under on Deebo, and it's almost the same thing. Slightly over to Aiyuk. Then in the mid-range here, I am over to Devontae Adams. It is very slight. At 7,300, you just get a significant price discount on him with the quarterback change, which is kind of how I'm viewing the expensive range in general. Not trying to make major leverage stands up here, but I think the biggest one I'll have is coming under to Debo.
Oh, I couldn't do that myself. I love myself some red 19, the best number in a roulette, the best number on the field there today in San Francisco. Gonna love me some Debo Samuel. He's in 55% of my lineups right now, so that'll be enjoyable. Again, just 20 lineups, so I'm kind of ramping it up, making some larger stands in some spots. You play to the tournaments you're playing in, and I think that that's definitely going to be a point of leverage that I'm happy to live with. Getting to a little bit more of red 19 than McCaffrey. Is he 23? Is he 23? I think he's 23.
I don't know.
I can't remember numbers anyway. Here we are. We continue on our merry way to the chalk of all chalk here. The 6K range. There's two of them, and they are popular here. Rashee Rice, Brandon Aiyuk. Hi, how are you this fine day? I mean, who are you preferring? Because I feel weird knowing that like Rashee Rice is a guy that I've ridden to this kind of ownership, played him every single week, way over the field. On a 3-gamer though, 40% ownership on any one guy going off in the first game. Something I think I want to try to live without, but I'm getting there. I'm gonna be a chalk donkey. What are you gonna do with Rashee Rice and Brandon Aiyuk?
Yeah, like for reference, Rashee Rice, I want to talk about first. He's going to be owned, but I almost think the field's probably going to be trailing a little bit with him. I mean, you look at him compared to the other studs. I think the field would prefer to click A.J. Brown, Debo Samuel, Devontae Adams, like the known commodities. Whereas with Rashee Rice, you have the new guy who's been volatile all season. Now he's working into a much better role. We just saw him above 90% of the routes. I think that's going to be sticky, not just because Rashee Rice has been awesome, but now they have more injuries. You don't have Tony. You don't have Sky Moore. So they kind of just are running out of bodies. He has to play a lot. But his projection trails only A.J. Brown. And you're saving upwards of 1.2K if you make the pivot from like Debo to Rashee Rice. And it's a little bit less than that with some of these other players. But man, it is really hard for me not to take the second highest projected receiver who's coming in 6th in price or 7th in price. So, I mean, 45% ownership, 50% ownership might not be enough on him, which is great. Our Sims tool handles a lot of that decision making for you. I still got like right around the field when I ran the Sims with him for large field. Small field, you're just locking him in. No questions asked. He's an awesome play. It's really hard to fade him.
Extremely hard to fade him. I will not be fading him. It is one of those things where, again, I'm happy to live with whatever ends up happening as a result of this. Like it feels like you have to just have at least with the field here in this spot, in my opinion. Again, I don't know how I get away from what his role is in a Patrick Mahomes offense as a 25-point favorite playing at home. It is just, it's so much more elevated to like anybody in the 5K range. Like Zay Flowers, when we at least are sitting there with news waiting, questionable. If you lose him, God, then, well, you better have some money. You should have some other things to be able to make work around and not have to be leaving 1,000 or, 2K on the table or anything like that from some of the more expensive guys. But I mean, there are ways to get away from Rashee Rice in a couple of lineups. I find it impossible, even building out 20, where I'm not at least holding hands here with the field, and I'm going to be a little bit over as well. Again, same tool. Does a lot of that thinking for me. I can take away my personal bias, and, my personal bias has been for Rashee Rice until I see this ownership number next to him that makes me want to cringe a little bit. Makes me want to cringe. But I have to bring up the cheapies here that are chalky because my Lord Almighty, our Lord and Savior here, Darius Slayton, what are we doing? Wan'Dale Robinson, what are we doing? These guys are just popular. Jalen Hyatt, 12% even on him, 3,200. Are we really going to play chalky Giants in this spot? Because they are the 3rd, 5th, and 12th highest owned players in our projections at the wide receiver position. Good golly, Miss Molly.
I think you need to play some of them if you want to play studs, but I'm happy to come in under the field, especially with alternatives. So, like Wan'Dale at 39, Hyatt at 32. You can pivot right to like Beckham and Bateman if you're willing to spend a little more for Beckham, and then Bateman, it doesn't really matter because he's so cheap. You can pivot to the Chiefs guys. And I'm running 150, so there's just no way around like completely fading Wan'Dale and Hyatt. But I'm happy to come in underweight to them. I'm actually pretty significantly underweight to Robinson now that I look at it, and slightly overweight to Hyatt. I think that's just because we see a pretty decent ownership gap between the two. They're both full-time players for New York, but I really don't feel good about either. I don't feel good about the New York offense at all. And I mean, kind of going back for a second, I realized we barely even mentioned Saquon Barkley's name. He doesn't even project for 2 more points, fantasy points, DraftKings points than Zamir White. So he's just an easy guy to fade, I think.
Yep.
Coming in with some ownership, he should be like
famous last words. We're screwed.
I mean, I'm not making predictions here, man. Like
I'm with you. I have zero Saquon, so I didn't even bring up his name for a reason.
Saquon Barkley's going to be on the football field. Anyone that plays snaps can have good games. We're trying to predict the likeliness of it compared to how owned they are in these fields.
Yep.
With Saquon, he's like, and the games he's played that where he's done well, he's been extremely efficient scoring touchdowns, like a couple of receiving touchdowns. He's very live, especially because he's working into the strength of the Eagles defense. He's live to get like 9 carries for 32 yards, 3 targets for like 12 yards. But that's the systemic risk of every single giant you're playing in your lineups. The safest one is probably Wan'Dale. He just plays that slot role where he's going to catch 4 or 5 balls, probably finish somewhere between 20 and 40 yards. If he falls in the end zone, great. But he's not really a guy I'm worried about beating me, if that makes sense. Hyatt has a skill set that could beat you. It's just DeVito can't deliver the ball downfield. But when I'm looking at those guys compared to Bateman, Beckham, who play with a competent quarterback, or you can gamble on the Mahomes situation, I would rather do that than play Hyatt or Robinson into ownership.
Let's wind down the wide receiver position here, talk about some of our favorite tournament plays to get to. Then I'm going to hammer out all the super chats here with 15 minutes left to go. Doing a pretty good job time management-wise here for an hour, 3 games, flying it right after the NBA Live Before Lock show. If you appreciated that, hopefully you gave them a like. Give us a like here as well. Sitting right at 270. I think we can get that north of 350, 400 here by the end of the show because, again, it's Christmas. Not asking for much here. Just want to be hanging out with you guys, talking a little bit of pigskin here. I don't think they still make it out pigskin, but you know what I mean. Donald Jones. Yeah, we'll get there in a second. I'll lead up. Yeah, Donald Jones, Humble Springs, Darren Logan, Cliff Weeks, Coffee and Koosh Entertainment. Everybody, welcome to the Stochastic YouTube channel. Family, appreciate you. I'll get to all the super chats here in a second, but I love getting to Rashad Bateman there at 3,300 here, as opposed to playing some of these New York Giants wide receivers. Again, Philadelphia's secondary is brutal, but I'm with you, Tommy DeVito. If I'm not going to be playing him, I don't really find myself wanting to guess who's going to pop between some of these 3K guys. Love the game environment there in San Francisco. Trust Lamar Jackson to throw it around a little bit better than just about everybody there. And then I also have some Trey Tucker in my life here at 3,300. Getting to some of these guys, I see Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow at 3,100. Totally get those kind of shots here as well. But I mean, Trey Tucker is coming off of a Week 15. I mean, not a coming out party per se, considering it was a blowout, but getting some deep targets, getting that game breaking type ability, and he's pulling no ownership here because he's the wide receiver 4 there in Vegas. But I don't know, low projection on him, know the slate breaking kind of stuff. And if he puts up a 0, I can kind of tailor-made my lineups to maybe incorporate more Giants if I need to there to not get completely burned by the position. And if he smashes, then I can kind of get by away from some of these Giants cheapies and feel much, much better about it. Anybody on the low end, low-owned wide receivers that you like getting to for tournaments today?
Yeah, I understand your logic. That's a large field tournament play for me. I'm kind of doing the same thing just with the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
So same game, early game, you're getting information. The only difference to me is you're playing with Mahomes and they play more than Tucker, but same thesis. So I completely get it. And last thing on the Giants, people love to cherry pick their matchups. Philadelphia is a terrible secondary. I know this. You know what they don't have, or what they do have, I should say? An awesome defensive line. You know what New York doesn't have? A competent offensive line. What do they have? They have a quarterback who takes sacks. Don't just tell me Philly has a bad secondary and then ignore the enormous defensive line, offensive line mismatch and the sack taking factory that is DeVito. I can't hear it.
He should open that instead of the spaghetti factory that I'm sure he's probably going to open. Anywho, ankle break AJ2, $5. Eric, since we didn't get your nuke of the night for the NBA slate, what is your nuke of the night for the NFL slate? I'm so glad that you would ask because I do have one. It's coming up at the tight end position. We'll hold steady. Can we get some Darren Waller in our lives? I think we can. That'll be fun, but yeah, I'll just tell you it's Darren Waller, but we'll get there. Joshua Alexander, $2. Merry Christmas. Swift or Zamir with Jacobs out. Zamir White for me. I have a ton of. I'm just so terrified of DeAndre Swift getting inside of the 5 repeatedly and not having it matter.
Straight up, I would take Swift, but this is a little nuanced because of the salary gap.
Correct.
I think if you can use the 1,000 to upgrade receiver tight end or something, I would agree with you on Zamir. But if you have the 1,000 for whatever reason, Swift is just the straight up play I would take.
Zach McCripe, $4.99 with a one dancing emoji. Woo, love it. $500 DK cash game for today's slate with 15 of my friends. That sounds like fun. That sounds like a good way to spend Christmas. I've done some betting pools at Thanksgiving and stuff with my family because those are enjoyable things. Do I shoehorn McCaffrey in or fade him and spread out the salary love? All right. Well, that's kind of what Matt and I have been talking about a little bit. And I generally am in the camp where get the guaranteed points with a Christian McCaffrey, but on just 3 games, I am going overweight to it's just a stand that I'm taking. I'm going way overweight to AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel on the expensive end, hoping one of them pops at 1 or less than half of the ownership and just trying to get leverage that way. But there are many ways to go about it here. I'm doing kind of a nuanced thing with my lineups because I'm only playing 20 here. What are you going to be doing here, Matt Gajeski, here with Christian McCaffrey?
Well, for him specifically, he's only playing against 15 people. So you do have a big gap in projection between those receivers and McCaffrey.
Yep.
If you were playing a large field, I understand that's a great way to get leverage if that's how you want to approach it. But for 15 guys, I'm just getting the points.
Yeah, I think that's probably a much better way of doing it. Again, not playing cash and obviously going to be just playing the largest field tournaments where, I'm going to be playing the late swap game to a certain extent. I mean, if I have amazing lineups and I'm able to lock in raw points of McCaffrey, I'm going to do it. I'm not stupid, but there's going to be spots where I'm just kind of going for the home run ball and I'm stacking up everybody outside of him and hoping, maybe it isn't a McCaffrey day. Although there is my 1K year-long league. Well, actually, I've got 2 leagues technically, but I'm co-managing one and then I've got one my own. I have McCaffrey in both of those. And so I would really, really, really like McCaffrey to have a neutral game where I still win those matchups. So that's what I'm looking for, is like that perfect 25-point run out where, it can work out in certain lineups. It can also maybe win me those matchups. But anywho, thank you for the super chats, everybody. We appreciate you. Charles Moran, member for 15 months. FanDuel GPP, Brown and Aiyuk versus Deebo and Smith. No running back Philadelphia stack. All right. So you got a Philly stack going already. I'm assuming that means you got what? No running back Philly stack. Interesting. I don't know what that means. But Deebo Smith, I mean, these are obviously massive, massive ceilings on all 4 of these individuals. I slightly prefer the Brown Aiyuk side of things because Deebo Smith, I mean, Smith is kind of the odd man out of that situation, even though he should be able to do whatever he wants against the Giants secondary himself. But do you have a preference here? Because you're really targeting touchdowns in this scenario on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm with you. I prefer the Brown side.
Yeah, I think Brown Aiyuk just purely because of what that touchdown ceiling can be for both of them. Thank you for the super chats. And Kevin Davis, welcome to Team Stochastic. But anything else you want to talk about at wide receiver, or should we jump over to tight end here?
Let's get some tight end takes before we run out of time.
Oh, we've got plenty of time. 12 minutes. Everybody's getting their lineups in, right? Yeah. Well, you should also be getting some bets in. We've got something going on at OddsShopper as well for you going on right now. Promo code GIFT, 33.3% off your first week or your first month over there. Here's how easy it is. You simply sign up at the link below, the link in chat. You get yourself 33.3% off when you use promo code GIFT, G-I-F-T, GIFT, and you will get it's less than $10 now for the week, not just of all the tools, the positive EV tools, the fantasy optimizer for Underdog, DraftKings, for all these other different places. You have access to it for less than $10 for a week, less than $33.33 for a month. Hey, maybe that's why it's 33.3% off. I wonder who came up with that promo. That's incredible stuff. But anyway, OddsShopper friends, check it out. Really great stuff here on a weekly basis, getting you money in your pocket in the betting market. So take advantage of it. If you're in a legal state, you got all of the positive EV tools and the Discord to help you out. And if you're in a non-legal state, the fantasy optimizer for DraftKings, or sorry, not for DraftKings, for Rainmaker. No, what am I talking about? Both of those, not included. Underdog, Prize Picks, that's what we're going for here. I'm staring at my Rainmaker stuff here, trying to finish all of that up here in the last, 10 minutes. That'll be no problem. No problem at all. But to the tight end position we go, my friends. Oh, it feels like a great day to be underweight on Travis Kelce. This is going to go well for me, right?
I mean, he's one of the few tight ends that can bury you. So yeah,
0%.
Well, you're only running 20 lineups, so I get it. You gotta make some choices. There's a lot of studs on this slate. I'm gonna come in underweight too. He just has not been priced down for his play this season. And there's a lot of really cheap tight ends that I think are right there. So I'm gonna be with you to a lesser extent. I am playing some, but it's not much.
All right. So I guess the next question is, well, Eric, who are you going to play cheap at the tight end position then? How are you going to save money if you're going to be playing A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk and, about the field on Christian McCaffrey? Well, I will tell you how. I am playing an unlimited amount of Isaiah Likely in that game environment against San Francisco and one Darren Waller at 4,500 with all of these with all of these wide receivers being insane chalk here for the Giants. And I understand why. We're getting a super chat here. Gang Green, member for 4 months. What about Slayton? 8 targets last game. I totally get it. It's hard to find that kind of salary savings, but in 2 tight end builds with Likely, with Goddard, with Kittle even at 5,500, if I'm full fading Kelsey and he doesn't roast me in that first game, I have so many swaps that I can make that people won't be able to make with 10 from Travis Kelsey in their lineups, and I'm going to have positive EV lineups the rest of the way. If Travis Kelsey puts up 25, I don't think I'm necessarily dead because I can get onto some of those ceilings in the flex spot specifically and try to extreme punt tight end. I'm still saving the money. The only way that I get completely burned here is by a 35 spot where Travis Kelsey says, it's me. Hi, I'm the man. It's me. Straight out Taylor Swift in it here. But what are you doing at tight end? Because I feel ridiculous having 55% Darren Waller here in my lineups right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's just tricky to project because he didn't play a full-time role in his first game back. You're just banking on him going back to his normal role.
Yep.
Which you would think happens at some point, but I completely understand it. Honestly, what I would do if you think Darren Waller's going back to 100% of the snaps is just change his projection. Because we have him projected limited right now, which is in line with sports books. It's what everyone is doing, but we don't know that. It's not like Dable came out and said, we're only playing Waller on 44% of snaps again, which is around where he was last week. So there's some nuance to the Waller projection. Depends on how much you individually think he plays. I'm personally going to be a little underweight to Waller, nothing crazy. So he's pretty neutral in my portfolio. The guy I'm most overweight to is min price Austin Hooper, which is wild to say. So I see some of you in chat making jokes about, can't wait to get burned by Hooper. I'm right there with you guys. I mean, they just don't have any other tight ends to play today. Not at least that can play a pass catching role. Cole Fotheringham is more of a blocker. Spent his time at Utah. So, I mean, it's just you save so much salary by going to Hooper. And here's the thing. He projects under 6 DK points. He's still coming up a ton. So, I mean, if God forbid he has a good game, he's going to be, you might actually need him if he has 10 or something, because that's just, if Austin Hooper scores 10, Kelsey needs to score 25 to 30.
Yep. I am so with you. I like Austin Hooper to a certain extent. I have him in 4 lineups, so that's fine. 20% of him. Sims Tool was jamming him, so I have to let that be known. It is a really, really good Sims play. I'm worried that he ends up really, really chalky, but also at 2,500, you know what you're playing at. He gives you all the salary savings. The other thing, we'll get to defense. I'm not playing either of the terrible teams on this slate, that being the Giants and the Raiders. I have 0 of either defense out of, it's technically 22 lineups here now as I added 2 more, but I am pretty confident in saying that, saving salary, going to be useful on this slate in some capacity, which is why everybody's playing these wide receivers from the Giants. I just don't want to be playing roulette with them in just 20 lineups. More than happy to just, I'm happy to go the other direction here.
Yeah, I mean, he's risky. Maybe Chad will agree with this one. Hooper sucks. He's just 2,500. So it is what it is. You need to get a salary saver somewhere. And I am pretty spread here. I don't have more than 30% of any tight end. So me being the most exposed to Hooper, kind of want to just qualify that for a second. Second most is Goddard. That's mainly just a product of being most exposed to Hurts at quarterback. Likely's 3 for me. Kittle's 4. Kelsey is 5 and Waller is 6. But again, spread at tight end. So Waller being 6, this isn't even making a huge stand.
Brandon Katz, I got to send Jordan Klein a note. The Brandon Katz meter has to go up. It must go up. 5 minutes left to go. He is gone forever. That is for sure. Anywho, friends, this has been a blast here. Let's go to defense here. Do you have anything else for tight end? Because I think we kind of covered every range. Austin Hooper's there. Noah Gray, you know what you're doing there too. You're just trying to get different, but I'm just living in that Likely and Waller and Hooper. That trio specifically is like everything I'm doing.
Yeah, same.
Cool. Anywho, defense we go. Said it before, I'm not playing the Raiders. I'm not playing the Giants. I'm not playing either of these teams that have teams with 25 totals against them. The Ravens, they're 2,500. That kind of changes it for me where I think, yeah, even against a team like San Francisco that has a 26 implied total, I think the Ravens are good enough. They can create some turnovers. And yeah, there's fluky stuff that can happen anytime here, but in a smaller allotment of lineups, I'm happy to just play the 4 defenses. Eagles, I have the most of. Chiefs, I have the second most of. Who are you getting to here at defense to round out our program?
Chiefs most, Eagles second, Niners third, Ravens fourth. Out of 192 lineups, I have 6 combined of the Ravens and Giants.
All right. That's beautiful stuff. Let's round out the program here, giving everybody a recap of everything we just talked about. There are some late swap spots you want to be a little bit aware of. Zay Flowers, not officially affirmed. He could be out, but again, we're not going to know that here until
he practiced in full. He's playing.
Yeah, I think he's good to go. He's still listed questionable on the sheet, so I'm assuming that he's playing football, but just something that you could have end up coming out and biting you in the butt, but wanted to at least throw it out there as a caveat to pay attention to. But you should be late swapping as is. Matt and I talk about it all the time. This is especially important here to react to how this first game goes. If Isaiah Pacheco fails, I'm going to have to do some weird stuff that I don't want to do. But Jalen Hurts, my highest owned quarterback. I'm eating the chalk there here at the moment. Brock Purdy, second for me. Lamar Jackson, third. No Mahomes, no Tommy DeVito, no Aiden O'Connell. Rip to me if any of them go nuts. Who are you playing at quarterback, Matt?
Top 2 are Hurts and Purdy.
To the running back position, I love Isaiah Pacheco. I like to get different here to some extent with Zamir White, because considering there's 3 guys pulling north of 40%, he's at 31.8%. I'm just jamming Zamir at 5K. What are you planning to do at running back, my friend?
McCaffrey and Pacheco are my 2 most owned.
Love it. Wide receiver, Rashee Rice, confirmed good chalk?
Oh, yeah, he's my most owned.
Yeah. And then going down the rest of the board here, I love getting to Rashad Bateman as my cheapie, getting a little bit different away from some of the New York Giants. Not that I don't have 1 or 2 of them scattered amongst my 20, but like getting to A.J. Brown, like getting to the expensive guys, Deebo Samuel, considering I'm ever so slightly undercutting Christian McCaffrey there at running back. But what are you doing at wide receiver here? Favorite guys to get to?
Yeah, the highest leverage points for me are Bateman and Devontae Smith.
God, I love that so much. And tight end, 0 Travis Kelce, rip to me. Go Darren Waller. What is going on with my life?
You chose a specific leverage point, and you're going to live with it, whether it's right or wrong. We understand exactly what you're doing. I'm doing something that honestly I feel worse about, but it's going with Hooper. We'll see how it goes.
Manny Hooper by and my Eiffel Swans. Hey, does that get some respect? Is that rap?
I don't know what I didn't really understand you. What were you doing?
And defense one more time for the people in the back.
We're playing KC and Philly.
Yes, we are. KC and Philly. Gonna be beautiful stuff, my friends. Merry Christmas to everybody. We stuck the landing. Mike Lawrence, phenomenal job here behind the tables there, producing this lovely show here. I'm gonna get the heck up out of here. Matt's gonna get the heck up out of here. What's on the tap for you for the rest of the day? What are we gonna be doing? You're gonna be hanging out with the family watching football?
Yeah, I'll be watching a lot of football. The Bucks are on right now. It's my NBA team when I rarely watch it. But yeah, there's a ton of bowls this week, so I'm going to be preparing for those a lot of the time too. College football bowls.
Guys, you want to be... The fact that I get these projections for free from Mr. Makacheski, it feels like cheating sometimes. It feels like stealing, but the guy is grinding the tape. He is paying attention to the injury reports. He's letting you know who is going to play. And it's impossible. Sometimes you just don't know until the day of, where it's like, oh, I thought he was going to go to the NFL draft. Who's the quarterback that ended up playing the other day that was supposed to go to the NFL draft? Am I just making this up?
Oh, I mean, there have been a couple of those.
Yeah. It's like, come on, just give us the news ahead of time. But it's a leverage point. We're keeping it under wraps for whatever reason. Do you think that it's actually an advantage to do that?
Probably a little bit, but I mean, in the bowl games, like some teams aren't even really like trying against you. It's probably a discussion for a different day, but some teams are like just purely evaluating talent, like just trying to see what they have on their roster, if they need to like go in the portal or something. So I mean, like maybe in the regular season, but in bowls, it's like some guys aren't even like trying to beat you. They're trying to be like, can this running back be my starter next year?
Yeah. Out of time doesn't matter. Nicholas Lind, then just leave. Just leave. I was asking my friend Matt a question here on Christmas. Go follow him, Matt_Gajeski here over on the Twitters. Any final words for the people as we get out of here, my friend?
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for being here. Love being able to do this with you guys every week, and it's especially special when we have cool slates like this on holidays. So just thank you. Hope you guys enjoy your time off and with the fam.
Be merry, be happy, be healthy. Merry Christmas. From Mike, from Matt, I'm Eric. Get out of here. Go spend some time with your family, you hooligans.